Well, thank you all for joining this presentation. What I would like to do, I would like to make you a witness of an initiative that we took a little bit more than a year ago. And it's all about innovation. Adam already mentioned, I'm a member from the DSV company. I think you know DSV, I'm not going to babble about it too much. With the blue countries, we are getting fairly global. And probably many of you have seen that we were the ones also to maybe acquire CEVA 2 weeks ago. We're not going to talk about that, it's maybe also finished. But we are getting fairly global. We are in contract logistics, in air and sea freight, and in road freight. And we do fairly well. I'll show you a short video, only a couple of seconds, about this initiative, and then I will explain all the backgrounds and where we are today.
With over 4,500 employees in 80 countries, DSV is one of the largest transport and logistics companies in the world, and one of the leaders in logistics innovation. DSV Startup, a unique venture helping startups grow. DSV supports startups with professional consulting, including supply chain architecture design. We ensure the success of startups and help them grow. DSV also selects startups that are developing technological innovation to improve the supply chain. DSV Startup. We're here to make your startup a success.
So as I said, just a short video. We called the program DSV Startup, and we had some backgrounds to this that I want to briefly share. At the same time, all the reasons that I'm passing on now, you can come up with many of them yourselves. As you all know, and many times even better than me, this supply chain world that we are all in is changing every day. Technology is moving extremely fast, so there is no way around us not picking up also on innovation. I think it's fair to state that the 3PL industry, not limited to us but all of us, has not been really a pilot or a pioneer in the field of innovation. At the same time, in the supply chain, we have a linking function every now and then. And that means that we cannot stay behind and we need to move innovation on a fast pace. And that's what this is about. Think about different solutions and different ways to get to market. And of course, big data, also part of all the changes that we are in. It's key. So we said we need to accelerate everything that we do in the field of innovation. Now, the picture on the right, that's Israel. And all the logos that you see, those are companies, and there are many more, that have their research and development center, the global ones, in Israel. Israel is the country around the world where the most investments and the most developments take place. And that's why DSV said, let's check what we can do in Israel in order to gear up with everything that can be called innovation. There are some statements here. You can download them later. I'm not going to run into that. This is more interesting. Some global business leaders having an opinion about innovation in Israel. When you're looking for oil, you go to Saudi Arabia, but when you're looking for brains, you go to Israel. And well, that challenged us, that tickled us, and that's what we did. You can also see that the spend per capita in the country is the highest of all. I'm not going to talk about politics, but there is probably something in the history of Israel that makes them constantly looking for the next opportunity and the next term, or whatever it is. There must be a connection, I think. So, Israel. We teamed up with two communities that I will briefly explain about. This is the Shimon Peres Center for Innovation and Peace. Shimon Peres, as you probably know, he was the former president of Israel. When he was a president, he was having a dream. It was all about peace, of course, but he said if you have innovation, people need to communicate and interact and work together. So innovation makes people very enthusiastic, they work together, and then there will be peace. Forget about that, but this is the innovation center on the beaches of Jaffa. And in this place, they showcase all the new developments, all the new startups that are going to change the world. Last week, it opened up again because it's 2 years old, but they now have completely refurbished the building and you can showcase everything that you want. It's science fiction, Star Wars, it's mind-blowing. Just to explain, last week, this innovation conference that took place at the same time in the same building, the opening was a 6-meter high hologram of the former president. So he is dead now for 2 years. His son, Remy Peres, is now in charge of all the developments and innovation. And he asked his dad, the year before he deceased, can you put on paper your vision, your idea, where are we going to? So what happened at the opening of the conference, that was this 6 meters high hologram with the old president speaking to the audience, wishing them a good day, and then explained his vision. This speech was never held. It was constructed based on artificial intelligence, 3D, whatever. And that was quite an interesting opening of a conference, I must say. It gives you a little bit of a view what it is that is happening over there. We signed a contract with them. We are in that center featured as the 3PL company that is going to help startups with their business. The story with startups is many people are extremely creative. They have a production budget, they build their prototypes, they then really have bigger production. They even have a marketing budget, but in 60% they still fail. And one of the biggest reasons that they fail is that they don't know how to get the product from A to B. Tax, VAT, customs, shipping in general. And this is where we said, let's make it different. I won't lie that the first reason for us to join this was fairly opportunistic. We just wanted to grow startups, move their freight, and if they grow, we grow. That was option number one. That was for us the reason to get in. But then we got confronted with something else, and that's really the interesting part of this story. Anyhow, we are now a partner of the Innovation Center. They feature us as a 3PL partner for startups. Next to that, they invest in startups, so they also inform us about which ones are interesting for us to deal with. So that's what this is about. The second is a community called SOSA. And SOSA is a place, it's a community where question and demand, supply and demand from innovation comes together. It's a living room-alike environment, so you have a couch, you have plants, there is a coffee machine, there are glass offices, and the geeks, the nerds, the brilliant minds, and the business leaders, they gather. And because the business leaders, they need something, and the nerds, they came up with something. Sorry for my wording, but you understand what I'm saying. And if you go in there, the atmosphere created is creating communication and many ideas. SOSA is therefore the place for us. They scout for us with certain startups, hardware and software, the ones that we believe that can be relevant for us. And just for you to know, they open up in London, they will be in New York, they are in Singapore. So this is also a global community and one of the big accelerators for innovation. So these two teams help us to raise this program. So what were the initiatives? What were the reasons for us to do this? Well, the first is that we were confronted with companies that deliver products or solutions that really help us to enhance our total service portfolio. And I will give you examples of these. The second is, we have today already certain services in play, of course, but some of these services can be improved because of the innovators that we met. And I will give you a couple of examples of these. And just for fun, I will show you two examples of business that I met, where we are really starting to ship products from, but just to give you an idea about how innovative certain products can be. So again, this is the reason that we did it, and this is the reason that we started it up in Israel. Mind you, when we start to source these products globally, production can be in China, can be in America, so this is not an Israeli initiative, this is a global initiative. All right, some examples. These guys. This is a company, it's artificial intelligence. When I was talking to them, I received a SMS message. And I said, what is that? He said, well, that's my product. So I read it, and I said, dear MJ, my nickname is MJ. Dear MJ, your parcel is ready for delivery. Just let us know when it fits you in order for us to deliver that. I said, what to do now? Yeah, it's real, so just answer us. So I typed back, okay, I'm in Israel now, so maybe on Friday morning, 10 o'clock, because I will be traveling for the rest of the week. Yeah, 10 o'clock, difficult. And I really got really detailed answers. At the end of the day, after a couple of SMS messages that we exchanged, I had a deal at 10 o'clock Saturday morning. And at the moment that I made the deal, the carrier was also informed. I thought I was talking to a female at a help desk or something. But this was just pure intelligence, artificial intelligence. It used the answers that I got. It uses all the statistics, all the agreements in your warehouse, the agreements that you have with your carriers. So your cut-off times, your pick and pack timings in your warehouse, your wave building, but also all the timings that you have in lead time with all the carriers that you run. It makes a planning out of that, it calculates the options, and it directly communicates with the end customer. So for instance, with our e-commerce customers, we deliver end-to-end. They can now inform their customers that they can just contact this, whatever you call it. This was Jenny, the chatbot I discovered at the end. And Jenny will fix all my appointments, and she can do the planning much better than every human in the room here. Not to blame you here, because I couldn't do it either in the same space. So very interesting, and this is something that we are exploring further today with our operations in the Netherlands. The second, it's a bit the same. It's also built on artificial intelligence, but this is not about carrier planning and all the agreements that you need to make there. This is about the customer service desk, the complaints, and this is about the whole process in the back. When you have made your shipments, there are questions and whatever. Now, you all know that if you have a certain issues in your supply chain, certain questions are fairly standard. And if you see this hologram of the old president, and if you see Jenny the chatbot, then it will not be a surprise that also in the way that you can communicate back from a customer service environment via artificial intelligence. And the best is, of course, it's 24/7. When the warehouse closes and also the customer service desk is gone, or he just went to the toilet or whatever it was, this is constantly available for you. So this is also increasing the quality of your service. There are some things still to be investigated. It's a very young startup, but it's very promising. So we are talking with them today how we could deploy this in our operations, in our customer service desk. Another example of new stuff that we can deliver. Number 3, now this is what people say, I've seen that before. I was told, you have seen videos of drone deliveries with certain companies, but this was the first real-life business case from a company that delivered these drones. The business case is in Reykjavik. That's the picture in the background. There was a retailer on the north side. They had to do deliveries, parcels on the other side of the river in the winter. You cannot reach it by trucks. So they contacted this company. They had a drone delivery. They really customized the drone, the sizes, the weights, whatever. And they started to make their deliveries into this part of Reykjavik. Range of the drone, 5 kilometers. Day-to-day delivery, within 24 hours, the deal was done. So this is not our case, but this showed at least that they had a real potential to do this. We have, in our company in South Africa, a big parcel network. We are the biggest integrator in South Africa as a result of an acquisition that we did in the past. And now we also have some remote areas in South Africa, you can imagine, and now we are checking how we can do that with them. At the same time, we are challenging these guys to see if they can give us an alternative for the way we do stock counts and cycle checks. Cycle counts, so with your drones in the warehouse, checking your inventory, and that's potential also out there. So another example, a different service, a new service, or an improvement of. This one. This is so simple that I was surprised. Everybody is talking about traceability, about where is my merchandise. This, ship it to, it's called. You just order a couple of these tags. You pack them together with the merchandise that you want to ship. Then you can track it via a mobile app on your phone, and when it's delivered, you can just throw away the tag. Because it's cheap, so you don't have the hassle with all the returns of these things, because that was also an issue in the past, as you remember. It's not expensive, and you can start today. So we are working with this already now in Israel. It's now 2 months, so the final outcome of it still needs to be concluded upon, but it's already clear that this is something that we will continue. Extremely simple, and we just featured this, and we got acquainted to them via the SOSA guys. Next one. So here we are on the field. We have services already, but we encountered a lot of startups that can help us improve certain services. This is a new type of robot from the company Universal Robots, and we are now exploring with them what we can do with these robots for our pick, pack, and ship, with especially e-com. The robot is much smarter than at least what I've seen so far. The productivity is fairly high, the amount of mistakes, and it has already been mentioned by various speakers this morning. It has large potential, so we are working now on a proof of concept for many of our e-com deliveries, and this would then be deployed in the Netherlands as well. Again, something that we encountered when we were talking with the people from SOSA and with Perez and Associates. Another one. We have been talking, various speakers today, about mechanization of warehouses and robots. So in fact, that's not new, but I met the company Kaya Systems when I was having these startup meetings for 1 week. They are in mechanized warehouse. They have their bots. They move racks to the order pick location, or they can pick themselves via pick robots, or they have these automated guided vehicles that bring boxes and pallets from one location to the other that prevents you from walking space. In fact, that's not something new, but the technology in the background is, in our view, far-fetched. They're already ahead for a couple of years, so if we want to change something, we don't have to disinvest. And the best part is, if I want to expand the amount of activity in less than a minute, I have new bots on the floor. So a variety of products that they serve, and this was so quick, I hooked them up with the engineering department in DSV in Central, and today we have it deployed in Canada in one of our bigger the cosmetics business that we run over there. In Finland with a medical device company, and in the Netherlands today with a couple of brand owners where we mainly do a lot of shoes. So this is already in use. It was just something that we encountered again, and the intelligence in the back was great. Another one, smart packaging, the company Water.io. Smart packaging. So you go to the supermarket and you buy a box of chocolates. Maybe the wrong example because then you eat too much. You buy a carton of milk. You put it in your fridge, but before it goes into the fridge, in a value-add activity, we can add tags to the packaging. And as soon as you put it in the fridge and you drink your first glasses of milk, then there is a message at a certain point in time, hey Jimmy, you're running out of milk, you need to order again tomorrow. So we can inform the customer about active usage and take care that they will always have enough products in their fridge. But if you go beyond that, we can build dashboards based on all the consumption data that is out there, and we can help our customers improving their forecasting. This is not limited to just consumables. You can also think about healthcare. You can put them on strips for diabetes or for pills for people that need to reduce cholesterol. And then it's even increasing the quality of life, because if you forget, you could have an issue. So they can be on packaging, they can be on strips, they can be everywhere. And this is something that we are now also exploring to see how we can build that into value add. The dashboards, in fact, we are already talking about with our customers what it is that we can provide. So very interesting. Again, technology that was maybe partly loaned, but the way that they explained it, in this case again in Israel, whoa, let's chase this, let's move on. Next, and maybe I'm starting to bore you already. This was also an interesting one. This is a company, they have production set up in Pittsburgh in the States, but their research and development was again in Israel. And they produce engines that you can mount on a truck or a trailer, hybrid engines. So you can build from out of an old trailer or an old truck a hybrid vehicle. So you can save on coal monoxide, you can save on fuel consumption. The intelligence in it is also smart. When you drive uphill, the system warns you, just empty my battery now, because as soon as you go down, you can fill it up again. Now the funny thing, this is a little bit of a dual one, because we can move these engines to customers, and there are millions and millions of trucks and trailers around the world, as you know. But we are also going to test this. There is tests running now in our fleet in America, a couple of trucks mounted with these engines, to see how it really works, and if it works, there will be cost savings, and it can be beneficial for our customers. The customer doesn't see anything different than, in this case, maybe a cost reduction and at least CO2 emission reduction. So fairly creative, especially when you mount it on a trailer. Okay, and this is the opportunistic part. This is where we want to ship material from A to B, because as I said, there are many startups that just really fail to deliver their product to market because they didn't think it over what it takes. What do you think the thing on the left up is? Any clue? Sorry? Not close. This is a new helicopter. Now, what is the weakest spot of a today helicopter? It's the rotor blades, right? In a war, that's the first thing that people try to shut down. You cannot fly into cities because there are flat blocks, so it is dangerous. When you want to park it, it can only land under a slope of 9 degrees. So this thing has the rotor blades on the inside. Sounds a bit scary when you're sitting on the inside, but of course it blows down, right? Just to be sure that this is a safe thing, because we have been in the factory, you have seen it, and we have shipped them. The funny thing is, and maybe I should not say this, I already mentioned what it can do. It can fly into cities, it can facilitate trauma teams when they have to do something with accidents or pick up patients. But it will also be very useful for warfare or something else. I remember the days of Osama bin Laden when he was somewhere in the mountains in Afghanistan. One of the problems that the Americans had, they could go in, but they didn't know how to get quickly out, because they were in the Rocky Mountains of Afghanistan and the choppers could not land. This thing could park right next to the cave like this, get the guy, fly out, and done. So in terms of terrorism, etc., this is also quite a solution. And the most funny part for us is, of course, it fits in the truck and it fits in the container, so we can move it around. But it's mind-blowing to see a machine like this. And then the final example for now. The dish left top, it's it looks like a satellite. There is a big screw underneath. You turn it around, and you just screw it into your soil, into your land. What it does, it measures all the soil conditions. It can be for private usage, it can be for agricultural companies. And in a split second, you know how many minerals, how many salt, how many water, and you know exactly what to do in order to grow your crops and in order to fertilize your land. If you are a big agricultural company and you have a piece of land that you need to develop, you have companies that help you to determine what you need to do. It takes 3 months and a shitload of money before you know what to do. This, you can even buy it in a do-it-yourself shop. It measures, you know what to do at home, you know what to do with your business. And we have been shipping these out from Israel into the States so far. So just a couple of examples about the 3 targets that we have of companies and types of companies that we meet. Now, back to the story of, okay, so they don't succeed themselves in making a shipment from A to B. So we delivered what we called a global small shop control tower. The business is still small, 2 shipments a week, 3 shipments a week, but it will grow. It could be interesting. Intel recently bought a startup that was founded 6 years ago. The company is called Mobileye. Everything that you have in your car with city safety, distance control, etc., is invented by Mobileye. They bought it for 15 billion. Imagine that you are there to help them to conquer market, and you're still there. It started with 2 pallets, and now it's 15 billion business. It's amazing. Anyhow, we need to take care that our customers get the right information about these shipments. So we have now built up the whole control center from out of Tel Aviv. But this is now getting global. As soon as the volumes grow, we are already talking and preparing our control towers in the States, in New Jersey, and in Singapore in order to address it on a global level. With all the tools and gadgets and whatever you need connected to it. We have had many speakers already about what it takes. I don't have to explain it again, I think. Looking back to where we are, so in February 2018, we signed these contracts with SOSA and the Perez Center. We have now installed our desks, we have our branding. In the Perez Center, you have every 6 months new startups featuring themselves. And we are in the middle of that big display zone where D is featured as well, so the branding is there. We have 3 till 5 startup meetings every week with companies that are scouted by SOSA. We have, of course, an operational team that can immediately act on a shipping request. This is already there. Today, we have, in terms of technology and products and processes, more than 50 discussions and projects running. I would estimate that 5 till 10 are really picked up for us to enhance and improve our service and our product portfolio, but 50 projects today. We have today shipped out for more than 70 startup companies already their freight. If they will grow, well, you can do the math. That will be interesting. Early next year, also as we are a partner, we will organize a customer event in the Innovation Center. This is then definitely not about us, but this is for our customers to see what is already possible. Because that building, if you go in, what they showcase, what they feature, you will come home as a different man. That's at least what I did when I left the building. And I think I would not be the last. Here on the right side, you just see a simple list of things that we are tracing together with SOSA. That's their scouting main chapter list, easy. And last week, as I mentioned, we were joining this grand opening. Eric Schmidt from Google was there. Jack Ma from Alibaba was there. Of course, the Prime Minister. Who else? Big names that they introduced to us all. And constantly we were mentioned as one of the biggest partners that they had. And that was an interesting sales pitch at the same time. So maybe this story also helps us in terms of marketing. I'm a commercial guy at the end, right? This, and we don't have to run through all the specifics of this one. This is, let's say, what we call our technology and innovation radar. Other than the topics that are mentioned here now, this whole radar screen is filling up rapidly because of the projects and the meetings that we have in Israel. As a 3PL company, we are not the one that can come up with everything. We have been fairly arrogant in the past, to be honest. We thought we were great. We didn't use a lot of consultants. But now, really teaming up with these people with all the energy and the mind-blowing ideas, this will really help us to further develop this. And you see already, we go from track to assess, we test it, and then we adopt it. And many things are already adopted. So, we don't do it on our own. We have people to help us to trace down the right parties. And then we meet these parties, we try to help them to develop their product. And they definitely help us to increase our service portfolio and our service towards our customers. So this is what I had for you. This is the end of the story. Thank you for your attention.
Absolutely excellent insight, Meinderdjan. And it completely removed my intention to ask you about why you would bother buying SIVA when you've got all this interesting stuff going on instead. We don't have a lot of time for questions, but it's clearly something interesting, and I was absolutely sure that Ernst would say something. So it's all yours.
Thanks, Adam. Excellent presentation, Meinderdjan. And I think, obviously, people get fascinated about all the tech and the hardware and the software and those type of things. But by itself, to me, the most innovative part is that you have managed to change part of your organization to actually make it happen. So my question would be sort of, what did you do to persuade the board and the people to be open to innovation? And just to give you two examples, we have disrupted everything in the fintech and those type of things. We're moving now with the FMCG. And we see that it only can happen if you have the top management engaged, and there's the freedom to screw up things, you know, to fail fast, to do stuff. So what did you do to make it happen internally in DSV?
I like the question very much because this is spot on. It's not easy to get this. First, I went to Israel myself. Our Israelis had some ideas, but they were not able to shape it up. And I heard something, so I went out. And then throughout those days, I met 50 startups. I met Remy Perez and the people from Sosa. And then you come home as a different person, right? There was a lot of energy. And I need to bring this to the world. That was the idea when I flew back. So I started to work on a presentation and a storyline for indeed our top management, because this was too good to be true and not to act on that. On the 22nd of December, after we sent out presentations and after we informed what we were doing, I had a conversation with our group CEO, Jens Bjørn Andersen. So I explained him the whole thing. I ran through my presentation. And the first thing he said, well, if you are just as good in front of customers as with me now, I'm a happy man. So far that was good. And then he said, but you asked me to pay for this. We are a company where your investment mostly comes from the local P&L. They have to hold up their own pants. That's what made us strong. Of course, it's changing a bit now because we are getting big. But I said, to get this locally from the budget is not fair, because Israel is going to invest in something where they maybe only take 2% of the pie at the end of the day. Because the sourcing of these products will be somewhere else, and the end of the shipment can also be somewhere else. The innovation, we need to invest in that as well. And then I'm talking not about the goods that we ship, but the ideas that we got, that I showed you. And that investment is also a corporate thing, so I need your money. I said, and the third, I said, and I'm a bit on thin ice now, we talk about one DSV. But let's not lie about it. We have 3 divisions, we have countries, they're all good, but sometimes the word one is a bit complicated. I said, you're Mr. One DSV. If you want to make it happen, this is your moment to shine. And then he said, well, that's interesting, you're on thin ice indeed, but Christmas comes early, and then he gave me my budget. And this is really what happened. And maybe to wrap up, and not to brag, at the end of the year, I had my discussion with my divisional CEO. I report into the CEO of Solutions. And he gave me a specific award for this. I said, but why do you do that? Because this is not linked to our business in first instance. This is not contract logistics on day one. This starts with freight, and then contract logistics will join after. And then he said, yeah, but this is something that I never believed that you would be able to pull. Because this is a culture chain, and now for the first time we really pick up an initiative that is global and that big. And I was just not sure that you were able to sell that. So I went straight to the top. I investigated it. I had some people, of course, supporting me there. But this is how I sold it.
A big thank you, Meinderdjan.
Thank you.